With NHFree.com reporting in with a general wrap-up of events in liberty issues in New Hampshire. What you see here is archival video of some events that have been occurring earlier in the month. These kinds of events have died down over the last few days. There haven't been as many Lauren Canario protests in Manchester. But that's about to change. Activists have scheduled a November 5th V for Vendetta style demonstration at the Valley Street Jail in Manchester. So you'll probably be seeing more images like this on the 5th at the Valley Street Jail. For details on that, you can check calendar.nhfree.com. Canario is a Winchester resident in her early 50s who refuses to take a driver's license. Or more accurately, I should say she refuses to take a new driver's license. She was arrested on October 2nd by Milford Police Department for allegedly driving 18 miles an hour over the speed limit and driving without, of course, showing a license. The arrest has now resulted in at least 2 mainstream media articles in New Hampshire. This very balanced report from the Keene Sentinel. They made the effort to at least interview Lauren's husband, Jim Johnson, which not all of the media has done. The article also has a quote from Milford Police Chief Frederick Douglass, who says, quote, "I commend my officers for their professionalism. They were presented with a situation completely out of the ordinary, and they acted appropriately." The video also references Jim Johnson's YouTube video. The article also references Lauren's now famous protests and arrests in protest of eminent domain abuse. Eminent domain is the process by which government seizes personal property. There are also 2 articles in UnionLeader.com. This one appeared on October 20th, and another one which apparently was printed but doesn't appear to be archived, or at least appeared but doesn't appear to be archived. Anyhow, this Union Leader article is from October 20th, and it allows comments. Reaction seems to be on the Union Leader site running about 80% negative against Lauren, but is triggering a huge debate over the issue of driver's licensing. The protest has now generated an editorial in the Nashua Telegraph, and this is the 4th article now that I've seen on the subject. The article quotes Free State Project founder Jason Sorens, who says Lauren is part of a radical fringe part of the Free State Project. The editorial concludes that Lauren is within her rights, but it also urges that New Hampshire citizens should not confuse her with the majority of Free Staters, quote, whose vision of minimal government does not embrace anarchy. Despite the negative headline, a quick skim of the article at least indicates it was pretty balanced. And it was an editorial, not an article. In other Canario-related news, I failed to get a return call from Milford Police Chief Frederick Douglass. Free Talk Live host Ian Bernard attempted to enter the Valley Street Jail to get an interview with people there about their holding of Lauren. He was locked into the entryway for doing that. And for entering that area, he was let out after about 15 minutes and then questioned by a police officer. Ian Bernard says that no one at the jail would answer his questions, and they referred him to this man, the superintendent of the Hillsborough County Department of Corrections. His name is James OMeara. I also left a message myself on his voicemail attempting to get him to call me and give me a comment, and he did not return my call. A pre-written message from the superintendent says, "Our commitment to public safety requires us to securely and safely detain all lawfully committed offenders." One question I'd like to ask Superintendent OMeara is whether or not Lauren has been allowed to shower during the 3 weeks that she's been held, and if she's not been allowed to shower, is that safe? I've also left an email for Judge Martha Crocker requesting comment on the basically indefinite life sentence that Lauren has been given for this relatively minor offense. That email also has gone unanswered. response to the arrest on Lauren's YouTube video thread continues to be mixed. Police, for the most part, get good marks for their professionalism in handling the arrest. Good marks from both the random people posting on the thread and also from Lauren's husband, Jim Johnson, for at least their handling of the arrest itself. Johnson, shown here at an early October protest, says he has nightmares that he'll never see his wife again. Comments opposing Lauren's action are some of the most extreme I've seen. One guy here says Lauren should use her time fighting for stricter government penalties and better school funding. In other news, the Free State Project itself has a new president, Irina Goddard of Concord, a Czechoslovakian immigrant, or maybe I should say a Czech immigrant. Goddard was the primary organizer of the successful 2007 Liberty Forum in Concord. In a gamble at the time, the Free State Project invested nearly all of its $30,000 assets into the Liberty Forum and got almost all of them back in the form of payments for participation. Attendance fees is probably a more accurate term. The Liberty Forum is also thought to have had some impact on Ron Paul's decision, his critical and apparently very successful decision to run for president. She replaces, Irina Goddard replaces outgoing Free State Project President Varen Swearingen of Keene. Goddard reportedly favors a more decentralized Free State Project, and her husband Dennis has been asking for input on how to bring that about. There's also news regarding Rob Jacobs, seen here, one of the most controversial Free Staters to move to New Hampshire. He's also an Ed Brown supporter. Jacobs is seen here at a Canario protest. He's controversial because of remarks he has allegedly made on the internet that some people have interpreted as threats. He's become of interest to federal officials, and the news is that he has hired an attorney, Penny Dean of Concord, to represent him. This is a shot of him calling Treasury Department agents in early October, or I guess mid-October. Jacobs is a Manchester resident who I believe moved to New Hampshire roughly around early 2006. He's had an uneven relationship with Free Staters and was kicked off the NHFree.com forum in 2007. By the way, today is October 28th. I never got around to mentioning that. But in other news from the last week or so, Free Staters held their first ever open carry litter pickup event in one of New Hampshire's worst neighborhoods. Of course, as you can see, it's not a particularly bad neighborhood. There are three of us that participated. We brought our pistols and picked up trash in the area of 400 Central in East Manchester, New Hampshire. They report picking up 7 bags. Well, this is just about all I have to report for the week. This is Dave Ridley from NHFree.com, signing off. By the way, this edition of the Ridley Report is brought to you by Sakal CAI. Sakal CAI does collections a whole new way. They know that not only do you want your money, you want to keep your customers. Sakal CAI. They collect with respect.